Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Wes Fox, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I cannot thank you enough. I barely slept last night. I was so pumped up about this. Like I told you before, I'm not going to be able to meet you physically, but I'm so excited about what you're doing to help people protect themselves. I cannot thank you enough for being on our program. And as we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today, and then we can talk about currently what you're doing to help people protect themselves and save their own lives, and then also anything that you're working on for the future. Is that cool?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike. I appreciate it.
Super excited, buddy. I mean, I'm not joking. I got like 3 hours sleep last night. You can tell,
Love it.
right?
Love it.
Yeah. So tell us where you were born.
Sure. I was born in Reno, Lake Tahoe area.
Okay.
So Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
So grew up there in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and lots of area to shoot, lots of great skiing up there, and yeah, that's my hometown.
I don't know if it gets prettier than that place. It's just
It's pretty,
gorgeous.
especially Lake Tahoe. It's
Yeah, if you like the mountains and
beautiful place.
skiing and right, I mean, come on. So let me ask you a question. Did you grow up in Reno?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing about growing up in Reno?
I think just the outdoor experience. I mean, again, mountains are beautiful,
Yeah.
great skiing. Uh, so much great desert and BLM property out there. So we're able to shoot quite a bit growing up, on the property.
So was hunting, shooting your favorite thing growing up?
Yeah, did some hunting, but yeah, a lot of shooting, as I grew up, and a lot of martial arts, and those were kind of the two drivers for me from almost day one.
What got you into martial arts?
I think I was just captivated by it. I just kind of just had a natural inclination for it, for self-defense, for the art portion of it, and kind of the discipline, spirituality. Bruce Lee was a pretty big inspiration for me, which I
Love
know
that
he
guy.
was for a
Love
lot
that
of people,
guy.
of course, right? So
How did
just
you
an
do
amazing
that,
guy,
right?
yeah.
I
Just
mean, the things that guy did with his body just boggle my mind.
yeah, just kind of taking things to a whole different level. And he really was one of the first people out there to really kind of have that level of discipline and to push himself to incredible new limits. Not to mention that he is kind of considered the godfather of mixed martial arts,
Yeah.
because he was one of the first to kind of take what was good in something and to be able to use it under real pressure situations. And if it didn't work, he would kick it out. So he combined, Wing Chun, obviously he created Jeet Kune Do out of that, and was able to combine wrestling and some of the Filipino martial arts and Western boxing and jujitsu, and kind of combine those together. So that was kind of the precursor to what later became mixed martial arts.
That guy was just magic, He was just awesome. Okay, so Bruce Lee was an inspiration. That's cool. Where did
Absolutely.
you go to high school?
Where did I go to high school? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Reed High School,
Okay,
Sparks, Nevada. Reno and Sparks are kind of just sister cities next to each other there.
gotcha.
Right.
So did you have a favorite subject in high school?
Um, you know, um, I I guess if I had to say, it was the Reserve Officer Training Corps, where we had an indoor range
Yeah.
at I actually went to two different high schools, McQueen and Reed, and at McQueen we had an indoor range and a corps program there. So that was probably my favorite part, is being able to shoot rifles at high school. Other than that, I
Indoors.
wasn't a big fan of the normal, the more normal stuff, just getting through it.
Yeah. Indoors. Let's
Indoors,
shoot some guns indoors, right?
absolutely. Yeah, we
How
had our
cool
own
is
range.
that when you're a kid? I
It
mean,
was
come
pretty cool. I was impressed to see it at that time.
on. Okay, so you leave high school. Where do you go?
Initially, I kind of went into the resort development business, kind of coming out of high school, and continued in the martial arts path, and I'm an instructor in a number of different arts and styles. But yeah, started in the resort development business, worked in that industry for a number of years, had my own company, and was able to sell that company. My partner and I, when I was 29, and I was kind of retired at that point temporarily. But
Mhm.
during that time, I continued to kind of improve on my combatives skills, that I was actually teaching combatives at that time as well, and then really kind of made a shift into uh, the security business, and so it became a security expert. I built a very large security company, had about 80 different, 80 guys on my team, and we did
Wow.
executive protection, we did armed security, we did transports, we did all the different areas of security, and was able to I did that for a long time, and so
Yeah.
got a lot of executive protection experience. Trained as a private military contractor overseas, so did a little bit of work there. Did some executive protection, or it's mostly known as close protection outside of the United States.
Yeah.
Did a lot of work in Mexico and in some other countries, and a lot of work here. And then during that process, there in executive protection, a lot of times, Mike, nothing happens.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's a deterrent. You have a team, you have a detail, maybe with a affluent, kind of high risk target,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of planning, a lot of things that you do that make it difficult for somebody to potentially be a threat. And like I said, it's good deterrent, but oftentimes nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
And, I did have a few situations where things happened out of the country, and from that experience, being the first time having rounds coming my way,
Mhm.
you really learn that the training that you're doing static. What I mean by static is I'm doing the way that everybody else trains,
Mhm.
almost everybody.
Yeah.
It's static training. You're not moving. There's a piece of paper or a piece of steel down range. Maybe it's in
Fixed
an equal range. Yeah,
fixed
just
target.
a fixed target,
Yeah.
no pressure, no threat whatsoever. I mean, you're effectively just punching a hole in a piece of paper.
Yeah.
There's no
Nobody's running,
decision making.
ducking for cover, none of that kind of stuff, right?
And no movement, no de-escalating the situation. It's just completely unrealistic. I
Yeah.
mean, it'd be tantamount to me saying, "Hey, Mike, do you want to be a UFC fighter?" And you go, "Heck yeah, man, that sounds great." And
Yeah.
I show you a video of Conor McGregor fighting, and maybe even you're practicing the techniques and kind of trying to follow along what Conor's doing. And then I say, "Okay, that's your training, Mike. You got it. You saw what he did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to put you in the UFC this weekend.
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen, Mike?"
Yeah. Punch the bag, right? And you're qualified.
That's
Dude,
it.
I was a sparring partner for a PKA kickboxer,
Was that right? Okay.
which
Yeah.
meant I got my tuchus just
Mhm.
kicked, royally
Absolutely.
kicked a couple times a week, you
Mhm.
know? And I would show up places like my regular job and that kind of thing, and I'm bruised and battered and stitched up and all this kind of stuff, right? And people were trying to figure out who's abusing me, right? Turned out it was the dude in produce who was a kickboxer, on the side, right? But
Sure,
he
yeah.
was produce, working produce. I was checking groceries for him, and he was
Mhm.
half my size.
Yeah.
He was half my size, and he could kick me in the face, dude.
Mhm.
I mean, come on, right? I mean, talk
Absolutely.
about talk about unbelievable things people do with their body. If I did something like that, I'd have a Charlie horse that'd last for 20 years. I mean, come on. Anyway, yeah, it just boggled my mind. The one thing I did do though was I learned how to defend myself. I got better at keeping him off, right? And a few years later, I had a buddy that had just gotten his black belt in Taekwondo, and he wanted to spar because I was bigger than him and I was, all this stuff, right? So we get in the ring and we're sparring, and there's a fourth degree black belt who was his instructor that's literally refereeing the thing, right? So we're sparring and he's shouting out orders, and he's like, time out, time out. And he brings me over and he goes, listen, when he comes in, you need to back him off. I showed you a kick to his thigh. I showed you a kick that will back him off. Now use the flipping kick, right? Man up. Like, okay, now that's all you needed to do. Question my manhood. Okay. We go back in. I hit him one time. He comes in. I hit him one time in the thigh, split his thigh, hit that nerve that goes all the way down to your heel,
Mhm.
right? And he turned into a whining little baby.
Nice. Yeah.
He whined for 6 months. I'm not joking.
That's a long time.
I ran into his wife and she's like, "You took my black belt and turned him into a whiner, man." Right? So, but it was one of those things where it was like, I hit him. It was lucky. It wasn't skill. Okay. But that whole thing about man up, right,
Mhm.
made me mad. And I think that's a little bit of a dangerous thing to do. By the way, those punching dummies that look like a guy?
Yeah, the Bob dummies, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what the stuffing looks like on the inside of them?
Uh, isn't it empty inside?
No, it's not empty.
It's not, okay.
It's actually 3 different colors. It's blue, white, and well, actually 4. We're gray, black, blue, and white.
Okay.
You know how I know that?
How do you know that? Because you've
I split one down the middle.
split one, yeah, there you
He
go.
was
Yeah.
jawing at me about man up and all this other crap, and when am I going to get really serious, right?
Right.
See ya.
Yeah, there you go.
One thing you probably don't want to do with me. You know what I mean? Anyway, right?
Yeah, that just kind
So,
of shows you that, you can't do something you haven't trained to do.
yeah,
So if you haven't, so without the sparring that you
yeah,
did, which is helping you with it, take it more to reality-based
yeah,
level and your timing and being hit and being able to hit, all those things, believe it or not, take practices. And I know that you understand that. And you have to train to do that. So when you take the,
Well, when
the
you get, it's like
training,
what did Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth,
that's right.
right?
100% right.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, and it
Absolutely
just
true.
it changes everything. So you're not prepared, and I always thought that was, that really became a critical turning point for me, Mike,
Yeah.
having that experience and going, wow, I don't even know if I saw my front sight. I don't think I was that accurate with those shots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was a jarring moment, and I had had some very good training up until that point. So here's why.
Yeah.
Again, you can't do something you haven't trained to do. So if you haven't trained at a very high level of reality, where you're feeling that fight or flight, you're having to make split second decisions. There's not a lot of time to go and try to find information, bring it back.
And
Your
there's
brain,
rounds coming at you, right? They're whizzing by your head.
yeah. So yeah. When you're being shot at, it's a whole different story, right? And then that's
Yeah, it
kind of
is.
the next level, that force on force training,
Yeah.
and the highest level of the training that we do. In this particular situation, it was a real situation, and it really woke me up to say, man, there has to be a better way to train.
Yeah.
And I kind of compare that to the martial arts, and I know you'll appreciate that because you have that background. Before the UFC, there was a lot of martial arts that trained, and a lot of forms, and all the different arts that trained, but they didn't train realistically. So you
Right.
do the technique, you have the compliant partner, and I did some of those traditional martial arts. I did kempo, I did aikido, I did all those growing up before I got into jujitsu and MMA and Muay Thai. And it's one of those things where if you don't practice, and then you see these people fight or spar, and it looks like boxing. It's
Yeah.
like, well, look at all those techniques
Yeah.
that you were just doing, because you can't do them under pressure if you haven't trained to do them under pressure. And
Yeah.
sometimes those techniques don't work, and
Well,
so
they're
they
on
don't
a
work
they're
under
on a
pressure. You get
mat.
rid of,
They're on a mat with a circle drawn, like a
right.
wrestling mat,
Yeah.
right? And there's people judging them, and they're in a gi. When was the last time somebody waited until you were in a gi to pick a fight with you on the street?
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
No,
come
I get
on,
it.
be honest, right?
Although clothes can be
Yeah.
used to choke people out
How
too.
much of that close protection did you do with a gi on? Come on, if you'd have shown up for that, they'd have laughed you out of the room.
Absolutely. So
Okay, so
it was a critical thing to say, man, that, why does everybody train this way?
yeah,
Whether they're civilian, law enforcement, military, and I'm not talking about special operations or
yeah,
special forces, but the almost everybody in the world trains very static, almost no movement, no threat recognition, no pressure, no having to de-escalate, no having to defend yourself, because
right,
you're more likely to have to defend yourself. So even if you're in a life and death situation and you have a gun on you, doesn't mean you're going to get to it or get to it initially, even if it makes sense.
right,
Your life's in, imminent and immediate danger, and you need to draw that weapon. You're
yeah,
more likely to even just have to defend yourself, period, without even drawing a weapon.
with your hands, yeah,
Absolutely. So I've combined all of those together. So we're the first real kind of reality-based, training program for civilians that combines firearms, that combines, self-defense, mindset, breathing, and we combine it together to create what we call dynamic thinking survivors.
yeah,
So people that are able to defend themselves, that are able to communicate, because even that takes training and practice, to be able to have good distance management, to be able to quickly assess if there's a threat or not and what to do in that situation in real world environments, carjackings, home invasions, robberies, somebody approaches your vehicle in a parking lot, protecting family members. It's really everything. So at that point, I realized, man, I really have to create, not only for myself, but for others, a program that is more reality based. It's actually going to prepare people for real situations. When you've got, when you've got law enforcement that the average hit rate, okay, when their life's in imminent danger and they should draw their weapon and they should fire their weapon because of the lack of reality-based training and sometimes the funding to be able to give them enough training, it's 36% at pretty close range. So it just tells you that under pressure, it's different hitting a piece of paper under no pressure than it is trying to hit a real live moving subject, real threat that is moving. Okay, you're not even going to be looking at your front sight. You're going to be looking at the threat that's approaching you. So it's a different type of training. And so from that point on, I really started focusing on developing that program, and it took a number of years to really develop that. And I had some tremendous training. Worked with former SEALs, former MARSOC. Worked with this is obviously way before Ukraine. Worked with Alpha Group Spetsnaz guys over in Serbia. Worked with some of the top world champion shooters in the world, the competition shooters that have really the highest level of shooting, not tactics, but actual proficiency and speed shooting. And so I was able to kind of really take the best training, combine that with all the martial arts training that I've had in reality-based systems. I've done jiu-jitsu and MMA and Muay Thai and rapid assault tactics, which used to be the SEAL Team 6 fighting system, an integrated combat system. So kind of able to it's real close quarter fighting. It's no frills. It doesn't take 10 years to learn. We teach the same curriculum to anybody that we teach because it's not based on strength, right? And they're easy move. You can't remember 80 moves. You've got to have moves that are so ingrained in you can use them without even thinking to defend yourself. And so that's all part of our training program.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So do you mind if I share a story with you?
Sure, absolutely.
This is about your story, not mine, but my son got his black belt in Taekwondo, and he was 16, I think, when he took his black belt test. And he's, 6'4", wears a size 14 men's shoe. I mean, this kid's got long legs. He can reach up and just kiss you on the side of your head with that size 14 foot, right? So he's all padded up. He's got his gi on, and he's got to fight multiple combatants, right? This is part of that testing process, right? And he's in a number of different deals, right? So it's sort of halftime, and they tell him to go get some water. He'll time out, go get some water. He comes over, and we're all sitting there watching. I was so flipping pumped up. I'm like, Michael, tap me in. It's like, Dad, they're not going to let you in there. Okay, you're embarrassing me. Calm down. I'm like, come on, man. My veins are popping out of my forehead. Because, you spend your entire life protecting these children, right? And now you're watching people beat on your kid, right? And I'm like, I was about to explode, man. I was just like, bring it, baby. Let's go,
Protective instinct kicked in for sure.
Oh, yeah. And, the coolest thing about my kid is he taught children. He taught them Taekwondo. And it was one of the coolest things that I ever saw,
Nice.
And one of the things that, even today, we've seen the videos of people. There was a gal in Los Angeles the other day that they tried to steal her they carjacked her. Her French bulldog was in the car. She rode on the hood for like a mile down the street in downtown Los Angeles, grabbed onto the hood and didn't let go, right? And they ended up swerving and she fell off and all that. And she could have been killed, right? But those are the types of things that if she'd have had she'll probably end up in some program like yours now trying to figure out how she can defend herself in the future. It's the time to do this is not after you have experienced something like that. It's before, because potentially she could have stopped that or could have retarded it or could have stalled them and gotten away, with her French bulldog. Right. So, it's just, what you do is so unbelievably important, and I'm so glad that you're doing it. So you said that you're a franchise, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So we had such an amazing response to this program. So I really built it. We opened up our brick and mortar location about 5 years ago. We had been doing a lot of range training and different programs. And we work with law enforcement, and other agencies and groups, as well. But we had such a great response to this. I wanted to grow it.
Yeah.
And so this became a real passion project for me, Mike. And
Yeah.
I ended up selling my security company to focus on this, full time. And it's rewarding. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're helping to empower people, give them confidence. It really, we've had a ton of amazing success stories of people surviving attacks or law enforcement in shootouts, being able to survive and using our tactics, or attempted assaults or carjackings, you name it. And so I wanted to expand it, and I was able to partner with a gentleman who had a vast experience in franchising to the UFC gyms, Mayweather Boxing, XBT, a ton of different brands, and they were kind of membership based, which matched
Yeah.
what we're doing. And we were able to put together a program and really kind of a dream team for franchising.
That's
And
cool.
so we have rolled out our franchise program. We started it kind of mid last year.
Okay.
We have locations that are opening now. We have 8 franchises right now. We'll probably be somewhere around another 30 awarded this year, 30, 35 that'll be awarded this year. And so we're looking to grow to at least a couple hundred.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.